I'm so glad to be talking to you today. You know, you and I have known each other, worked together both personally, you've become my personal doctor, but professionally in terms of your oversight of a lot of our medical information at Bottom Line. And I just want everybody to hear and see how smart you are.
Oh.
How about that?
Sure.
Okay. One thing that's fascinating to me, you are so scientific and so data-driven, and yet you chose to go into what I'll call the nuts and twigs end of medicine, the natural side of things. So what drove you to the natural end of science versus the hardcore labs?
The more I studied science, the more I realized that it was a way of looking at natural function, but it was an approximation, that we can't use science in place of intuitive wisdom, that the processes in the human body are really far too complex to reduce to the sort of the nuts and bolts scientific, quote unquote, overview of how function goes. Not that there isn't a great deal to be derived from it, but in order to understand it, you have to realize that you have a constellation of influences that affect interlocking systems that are so sufficiently complex that if you try to reduce it just to blood tests and scans and whatever to make your decisions, you're going to lose something and it becomes dehumanizing. And as I said in an earlier piece, the most important thing to do with people is to help them to be more comfortable with who they are and more successful in functioning on the planet. Then they become better consumers of healthcare, happier and less vulnerable to disease.
But also I think it's important that somewhere again, you're a data-driven, proof-driven guy.
Yeah.
And that, the knock on natural medicine is often that there aren't big double-blind quant studies, and yet you're very satisfied that there is a lot of evidence in these natural protocols. So
Right.
What is it that satisfies you in that?
A lot of what satisfies me is the fact that many of these things, a lot of these practices have been done sometimes for millennia, not just centuries. One of the books I have in my library is an herbal that was written around the time of Shakespeare that has references that go back to the Greeks and the Romans, which is why I call my practice Southbury Clinic for Traditional Medicines. That when we were using the traditional means, that the allopaths or the sort of the naysayers of the world were using mercury and arsenic to treat illness. As a matter of fact, that's where the term quack came from quacksalber or quicksilver, from the dispensers of mercury for curing syphilis. So things aren't always as they seem.
And one thing that's also very intriguing is that you've often become, I'll call it, the last stop for somebody that's been through the medical system and they haven't been able to find out what the problem is. And in fact, that's how I got to you in the first place as well, that somehow you've been able to, I'll call it, cure the incurable. So how are you able to do that?
By trying to help them to unravel the mystery, by realizing that a lot of these things are interrelated, and by helping the person to heal themselves. We're guides, we're teachers. We amplify the natural processes that are inculcate within the individual, and that's really the best way towards health. And so you look at what's going on, what sort of influences can you modulate and remove from the outside? How can you support the harmony inside and allow the person to work better? Because that's going to be better in terms of producing freedom from disease and positive results, rather than micromanaging with drugs and surgery, which are necessary to preserve life from time to time, but in the long run usually fall short.
Well, and also, like, again, in my experience, you're able to pick up the breadcrumbs because you are looking up and out versus in the small pieces, that you pick up the breadcrumbs from assorted different systems and different places and can put those pieces of the puzzle together, even just through conversation. It isn't even like your head's not down looking at 9,000 lab tests.
No, because looking at the lab tests can be interesting, but trying to appreciate who the person really is and how their challenges manifest can allow you to give the best direction for them to, again, to be more active in pursuing their own health care. I've lost patients who have come in and say, "What can you do for me? Do it for me, make me healthy." And I have to say, you're in the wrong place. I can't be that person for you. You have to be that person for yourself.
Well, you have been an incredible asset to the organization, incredibly generous with your knowledge and your philosophy that is, trickled down through our customers, through our readers, and I'm really grateful to have you here today.
Thank you.
If you liked what you saw today, we have more videos with Dr. Rubman at our website. He also writes a blog for us, Nature Doc's Patient Diary. So come visit bottomlineinc.com and share. Share with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, whatever's your preference.